Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Monday, June 29th, 2026, and today we are talking unconventional cover crops and the sport of growing Brussels sprouts. Is that a sport? Is that how sports work? Feels like a sport. We'll find out, so let's do it. All right, happy Monday, everyone. I hope you all had lovely weekends. Things were good here, relaxed, as I try to make the weekends that we have. But wet is all get out. There was once again, I think it was the fourth one in a month, another flood warning this weekend, and states of emergency in several areas throughout Kentucky. Kentucky is just going to be like one giant lake in a few years, I think. But we made it through that just fine here. Even went on a nice jog last night. I used to run a lot. I used to be a big jogger. I don't have the time to go running as much as I used to, but love it when I can. And in fact, I know a lot of growers who run. It's a rather popular exercise for farmers, surprisingly. You'd think it takes away from like the energy that you have in the fields. But as I've said before, exercise, I find, when you get in the rhythm of it, actually gives you more energy in the field. But anyway, I won't be doing a ton of running this week or probably much this summer. With a heat dome settling in over us, most of my time will be spent just hoping stuff survives, which is a different kind of physical exercise, less energy providing, more energy sucking. Also still thinking of our friends in Europe with their heat wave that looks like it will thankfully subside a little bit this week. And oh man, definitely still thinking about our friends down in Venezuela as well after the earthquakes. Unbelievable devastation down there. Sending you all the love. Cannot imagine what you all are going through. Just absolutely brutal stuff. So wishing you all the best and safest and fastest possible recovery. All right, so got a big show for you all today because it is Monday, where every week this year we are digging into a single less talked about crop in a series we're calling Planting and Raving. Today, the crop we're going to cover is Brussels sprouts because, although known as a classic fall crop, for many of us, planting Brussels cannot wait until the fall to do it. Ditto so many of those long season fall brassicas, which we will talk about the rest of them next week. They are mostly summer crops that just happen to have fall associations because that's when they size up and get super tasty. But yeah, the reality is that long season fall brassicas like these have to be started and in the ground long before the fall actually hits in most regions to be successful. In fact, up in northern climates, they are often starting these crops in May. We generally, or traditionally at least, have always gone with late June for Brussels sprouts, but if you can protect them, earlier is better because they are slower than Christmas. All right, so to back up, Brussels sprouts, or chou de Bruxelles, which literally translates to cabbage of Brussels, which I kind of think is like a dig at Brussels, but I can't prove that. Anyway, should really be called cabbage on a stick or baby cabbages because that is both what they look like and somewhat how they taste, except they are way more interesting and delicious when prepared well. Few crops excite my taste buds quite like Brussels sprouts. So anyway, as we always do in these Monday episodes, we will do the variety breakdown here in the first segment, and then get to the complicated growing stuff in segment 3. I mean, they are not the most complicated crop to grow, but if you are in a hotter region, as we are, where heat domes are a thing, you do have the work cut out for you. Of course, my obligatory profitability note, once again, this is a crop that is not bound to make you a ton of money. The value of growing Brussels sprouts is one, you can almost certainly sell them, especially here in the US around Thanksgiving. People will push other people out of the way just to get them. So it's not risky in that sense. The second thing is that they are relatively hardy out in the field and can take a light frost. So they do extend the field season a little bit better than other crops, and customers do really like them. Again, especially around Thanksgiving and Christmas here in the States, some growers will cut the entire stalk and sell them that way. And other growers, especially those growing in a high tunnel, which is a thing in the winter, will just harvest each little Brussels, each little baby cabbage individually and sell them that way through the winter, which is a clever little trick if you can protect them from the deep cold snaps. All right, so varieties. If you're in a warmer region, you will want a variety that is adapted to the warmth. Divino is one we've grown several times with that characteristic, and it does fairly well here, but there are several out there. Indeed, the biggest challenge for those of us in warmer regions is that the heat is just brutal on these crops, and when a crop is unhappy, it's pest food. So anyway, take any advantage you can get, and heat-adapted seeds are a really great and ideal advantage. Otherwise, some things you can look for are specific disease resistances, if you have specific diseases that you're dealing with brassicas. Varieties that avoid lodging or falling over, or just locally adapted varieties if you can find them. Days to maturity will matter as well. If you are starting them late, like now, then you will want as short of day to maturity as you can get for your Brussels sprouts, because on average, they're going to take 100 days or more to mature. Now, I start mine in the greenhouse. Again, slow crops don't work well with direct seeding because of, competition from weeds. So the greenhouse is where I go. I start them in 2-inch soil blocks, single seed per block, and grow them out under insect netting to protect them from loopers and moths and harlequin beetles as best I can. Basically, what I have is I take the insect netting and put it over the trays, and that means I have to pull it off from time to time to water it, or have it on a bottom watering system, which helps. It means I don't really have to pull that insect netting off all the time. That's convenient. But you just add water to the tray and make sure that they stay moist. But keeping that insect netting on will keep moths and that sort of thing away. Anyway, I grow them until they're at least, 4 inches tall or so and happy and stout. And then it's time to plant. But we will save that for the third segment. For now, let's take a quick cover crop break, an unconventional one, BRB.
All right, Jesse, I'm here in Springville, Utah. This is what listening to No-Till Growers podcast gets you. I've listened to every episode since the beginning. Not even a market gardener, but at this point, I may have to do something because I think I overplanted. We got our cantaloupe and tomatoes, onions, more tomatoes, zucchini. These zucchini are really doing good. Cucumbers, peppers in there. I think you might be onto something with this whole no-till thing. Thanks, Jesse.
Today's episode is brought to you by Grown By. Grow smarter with Grown By, the farmer-owned cooperative. Grown By is the platform for online sales of everything, custom and traditional CSAs, halves of beef, flower bouquets, wholesale to restaurants, and now Grown By supports in-person sales too. Their new app, Grown By Register, you can supercharge your market and farm stand, finally bringing together your online and offline sales and customer data. Grown By is proud to make local food accessible by processing SNAP benefits online and in person right within the app. Grown By helps you put your best food forward. Schedule a demo at coop.grownby.com/no-till. That's coop.grownby.com/no-till. All right, back to the show. A quick and loving reminder that if you, the listener or viewer, are enjoying this podcast, getting even a small amount of value from it, consider supporting our work over at patreon.com/no-till-growers. I will try to get to questions from everywhere the questions come in, but I will always get to your Patreon questions. Now, today's Patreon question comes to us from Patreon member Finding Ground Farm, who writes, quote, "Hey there, Jesse and team. Always love the podcast. It provides me with my daily dose of nerding out on garden stuff. It's the equivalent of meeting someone in public who also enjoys what you enjoy and just talking about what comes to mind. I love it. Anyway, the question I have today is centered around non-traditional cover crops. I am in my second season of growing in Michigan Zone 6B and have two 50 by 100 foot beds, one in production, one covered with silage tarp. My question is, if I pull the silage tarp, is there any harm in planting chia seeds? Yes, like giant chia pet. The reason why I asked this is because I had mixed chia seeds into a frog pond sensory bin for my toddler, and when it washed away into the grass, these things sprouted like crazy. Even competing with grass, I didn't have to water them. I didn't have to think about it. They just grew. Could I harness this power, treat it like buckwheat, and use it as a cover crop? What are your thoughts?" End quote. All right, so this is an interesting question, and I also just in general love the topic of unconventional cover crops. So let's do a little of both. First, the chia. Now, chia is a plant that I've had long interest in, but never grown it myself. It's eaten as seeds. It's consumed in sprout or microgreen form, though I don't think the flavor is super desirable. And of course, chia pets. As a member of the mint family, chia produces flowers that beneficials love and lots of seeds, so you do have to be careful when it comes to flowering. But as a cover crop, it's an interesting idea. It grows relatively fast, so that works in your favor. Chia also does not go to seed super quickly like buckwheat does, which is another bonus, especially for anything in the mint family. In terms of soil health, it seems chia has pretty substantial root systems, and the mucilaginous characteristics may have some water retention benefits to the soil in drier times, which is neat. It's not super drought hardy, but maybe a little bit drought hardy. And it looks to me like in the right conditions, it can create some pretty substantial biomass. That said, I have no idea how hard it would be to kill it in the summertime, though in the winter, it's not winter hardy. So, the winter will take care of it if you don't happen to kill it over the summer. So it's maybe like a late summer cover crop. You're probably good to go there. So for me, and this goes for any experimental crops like this, start with a small trial. There is no rush in gardening, meaning take your time to see if something will work for you, because you may be using that trick for the next 20 years or fighting that mistake for the next 20. So it's important to just see how you like it and how it works in your context. I don't think the seed is quite cheap enough to justify a lot of it, but maybe you don't need very much of it because it is quite small. Again, mint family. With adequate moisture and a little pressing in, the seeds can be spread somewhat lightly on the surface, making them attractive for no and low till operations. I'm certainly intrigued and am going to try it out this summer. Just ordered 2.5 pounds for a little trial myself. So yeah, I'll give it a try too this year, and we can come back together and share our notes. As for unconventional cover crop seeds in general, to me, they have to meet two main criteria. One, they cannot be in the same family of something that I need to plant there, like squash makes for a great cover crop filler, for instance, if you're not going to grow squash in that bed or nearby. Two, they have to be able to die without tillage, either killed by a tarp or winter killed or death by mowing. They also have to grow relatively quickly and be planted with little labor. Like sweet potatoes would make a great cover crop if they weren't so darn slow to grow and to plant. Mung beans have always been a good unconventional cover crop for me. I feel like that's not one people talk about very often, but works pretty well. I often throw cilantro into fall mixes. Dill can do well also, and it has these nice little flowers that smell like dill. And pickles in those summer mixes. Radishes anywhere I'm not growing brassicas works too. Fast to grow, but slow to go to seed. I've added spinach and lettuces to winter mixes as well, where I have no intention of growing those crops the next year, obviously. They just fill out the space nicely and keep it sort of weed-free. What say you all? What are some unconventional cover crops you have used? And also, do you have any chia growing experience? What has it been like? Caused any problems? Been super awesome? Let us know. And otherwise, we're going to take one last quick break. When we come back, we Brussels because every day we Brusselin'. Be right back. Chia.
So an update on the terrace garden from Zone 7B, Western North Carolina. Because of the drought, the cover crop ended up being mixed with about 60-40 weeds of what was already growing here. So I think the next step is tarping, if I remember correctly, and take advantage of this heat wave. Awesome.
I'm Mark Hera. This is Huerta Girasoles. Sunflowers community garden in Cedros outside of San Jose, Costa Rica, and it's an urban community garden. We're doing cover crops, interplanted, crotalaria, sun hemp, New Zealand spinach at the end of its life, interplanted with marigolds to help with the nematodes, leeks, thank you, and green onions, and then garlic chives. We use garlic chives a lot. I don't know, it's kind of exciting to make, advances, get a little better at doing this, using the no-till stuff. Makes me happy most of the time.
All right, so in this hypothetical, we have grown our Brussels sprouts out to a reasonable size, and now it's time to party. And by party, of course, I mean plant while dancing. Brussels are a heavy feeder and will benefit from rich, non-compacted soil, well-draining, all the normal things that crops love. Brassicas do tend to like them a little bit of kelp, those micronutrients, I think, and that biostimulant. So adding a little kelp to those beds or using it as a foliar, the Brussels will probably appreciate that as well. They also benefit, especially in a warmer climate, from a lightly colored mulch if you have one laying around or can access one. I don't so much this year, as our spring drought that we had earlier has caused a hay drought in our area, where I'm calling hay people and they're like, no, do you got any? But where possible, a nice lightly colored carbonaceous mulch is a good thing. Water too, if you don't live in a region of unrelenting rain, as we do, then you will definitely need to consider a good, consistent irrigation routine for them. They are not as thirsty as other crops, but they will need the moisture for general photosynthesis, obviously, but also to manage the heat as brassicas enjoy cool nights. And, well, we don't always get those here until, it's straight up cold outside. All right, so harden them off before planting, placed in direct sun for a few days. If you can, and if you can't, then placing a little shade cloth over top will be helpful to getting them acclimated to the heat of the garden. You may also want insect netting, especially in the establishment phase, because the cabbage moths will be on the prowl, as will the loopers and other brassica pests, hoping to find some brassicas struggling in the heat. Spacing is about 1.5 feet to 2 feet apart. That's 45 to 60 centimeters in the row, with rows about 30 inches apart or 76 centimeters. Water them in well at planting if the soil is not moist, and keep them as weed-free as possible. You can even interplant them with lettuce or something like that to help with the low profitness of those beds. That certainly, just get another crop out of there. Or better yet, something like radishes or turnips that will enjoy sharing the shade cloth and insect netting. Then Those crops just rock and roll to the fall. You harvest out your radishes, then you let your Brussels sprouts sort of take over the bed. Now, if you aim to sell them or harvest them cabbage on a stick style, or you just want a slightly earlier harvest, then you will want to top them, literally pinch the top growth off about a month before a hard freeze or before you want to harvest them. You usually want to do that when the lower sprouts are about the width of a nickel. That would be like 1.5 to 3/4 of an inch in diameter. That will speed up the filling out of the individual sprouts that are left. Then either harvest the stalk and clean off the leaves, or harvest them individually as you like the Brussels sprouts themselves, individually just as needed. You may need to protect them in colder areas, or if this harvest is going all the way into December, they store pretty well on the stick for a month or so, though you are only likely to get a couple weeks of storage out of them when harvested individually, and that's about it. Not a ton on growing them, selling them wise, if that's the plan. Just make sure to charge accordingly. They took up garden space for months during the growing season. Charge what that is worth to you. What did I miss? Let me know, and let me know your Brussels sprouts recipes or procedures. Always enjoy a good recipe or 10. Otherwise, are we done here Monday? I think we're done here. Are we planted and raved? I think so. Don't forget, No-Till Growers is a nonprofit 501c3, so your donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. Please make sure to like and or subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That is an easy way to help us out as well. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors, and if you'd ever like to sponsor the show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at no-tillgrowers.com. Big thank you to Michelle. Big thank you to the No-Till Growers Board of Directors. Huge shouts to Willie Breeding for the theme music. Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing, and my wife Anna for absolutely everything in the world. Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. Pick up a hat or a copy of my book, The Living Soil Handbook, at no-tillgrowers.com to support this work. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/no-tillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, or you sign up in the month of June, you get a shout on the show. But no new signups over the weekend, which is all good. Maybe we will start the story tomorrow with new signups. We shall see. Thanks for watching and or listening. You all are the best. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Introducing America's Workforce Academy, built by Meta. Paid training, a job, and a path to America's future. Because the future is for everyone. Learn more at meta.com/America's Workforce Academy.